Ever get the feeling like your dreams are, trying to tell you something? Like they're holding a secret message, but it's like in a language you can't quite understand.
Mhm.
Well, today we're going on a deep dive into the work of the man who practically invented dream dictionaries,
Oh, wow.
Sigmund Freud. We have something really special for you guys, early audio recordings of his groundbreaking work, The Interpretation of Dreams.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like having a one-on-one with the father of psychoanalysis.
It's amazing just how relevant Freud's ideas still are today. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about a book that was published in 1900,
Right.
and yet it's still sparking debate and
Mhm.
shaping how we think about the mind over a century later.
To set the stage a bit, Freud wasn't just, some armchair philosopher.
Right.
He was a medical doctor in Vienna who was completely fascinated by the brain and how it works.
Yeah.
He spent his life trying to unravel the mysteries of the human mind, especially that part we're not even aware of,
Mm.
the unconscious. And he believed dreams held the key to unlocking its secrets.
And what's often overlooked is that Freud didn't just focus on dreams in isolation.
Oh, interesting.
He saw them as connected to a whole range of other psychological experiences, like phobias or obsessions, even delusions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it wasn't that dreams actually caused those things,
Right.
but rather they offered a similar sort of window into how the unconscious mind operates.
So it's like dreams are a safe space for our hidden thoughts and desires to sort of play out,
Yeah.
like a mental theater where the unconscious can express itself, without the constraints of our waking logic.
That's a great analogy. Freud actually called these hidden expressions undesirable presentations.
Undesirable presentations.
Yeah, these were the thoughts and feelings we repressed during our waking hours, only for them to then emerge in our dreams. And he was particularly intrigued by dreams with morally questionable or even downright bizarre elements because he thought those held, the most revealing clues.
Okay, so now I'm picturing some truly strange dreams.
Yeah.
So was he suggesting that these undesirable presentations always meant something really deep?
Yeah.
Or could they just be, our brains sort of doing mental gymnastics while we sleep?
Well, that's where things get debated even today.
Oh, really?
Some psychologists see these dreams as very direct expressions of repressed desires, suggesting that there's a hidden side to our personality.
Mm.
Others view them as more random, just kind of mental hiccups without any real profound meaning.
So no definitive dream decoder ring then.
Right.
More like a starting point for exploring different possibilities.
Exactly. And to understand where these dreams come from, Freud, he categorized their sources into four main types. Now, three of those external stimuli, internal bodily sensations and sensations from our organs, they were pretty in line with the scientific thinking of his time.
Okay.
But it was the fourth category where things get really groundbreaking.
I'm on the edge of my seat here. Tell me more. What was this fourth category?
Well, Freud called them purely psychical sources.
Okay.
This suggested that dreams could arise from our mental and emotional activity, not just physical stimuli.
Oh, wow.
And this was a direct challenge to the prevailing belief that dreams were mostly caused by bodily processes.
Yeah.
It minimized the role of the mind itself.
Wow. So he's essentially arguing that our thoughts and emotions are actively shaping our dreams, even when we're asleep.
Precisely.
Mm.
And this ties into another fascinating aspect of dreams, which is how we remember them. Think about it. Have you ever had a dream that felt incredibly vivid,
Yeah.
like while you were experiencing it,
Mm.
but then as soon as you woke up, it just faded into a blur?
Absolutely. It's like trying to grasp smoke.
Yeah.
You can see it, feel it, but it slips through your fingers the moment you try to hold on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Freud was fascinated by this elusive nature of dream memory. It really contradicted the prevailing memory theories of the time.
Right.
Yeah, they assumed that everything we experience is sort of neatly stored in our minds.
Right. Yeah.
This selective, almost dreamlike quality of dream recall further pointed to the existence of the unconscious mind,
Sure.
operating with its own set of rules.
So this forgetfulness, the strange filtering of dream details, that actually reinforces his idea that there's a whole part of our minds that is working behind the scenes,
Right.
influencing our experiences even when we're not aware of it.
Precisely.
Mhm.
And this leads us to another point about how dreams feel so different from waking thought. There's this suspension of disbelief,
Yeah.
this willingness to accept the impossible that we rarely experience in our waking lives.
Yeah.
You could be flying with pigs one minute, taking a test you never studied for the next,
Right.
and it all feels oddly normal within the dream.
Yeah. That's so true. It's like stepping into an alternate dimension where, the laws of physics and logic just they no longer apply.
That's a great way to put it. And this quality of dreams really fascinated Freud, and he drew inspiration from the work of Gustav Theodor Fechner.
Okay.
Now, Fechner was a psychologist who suggested that the scene of dreams is fundamentally different from the waking state.
Interesting.
He was hinting at a separate realm of consciousness, and Freud took this idea and really ran with it.
So while we might think of dreams as just fantastical escapes,
Right.
Freud is suggesting that they could actually be valuable tools for understanding how our minds work,
Exactly.
especially that hidden unconscious part.
Exactly. And by studying dreams, Freud believed we could gain a deeper understanding not only of the unconscious mind, but also the potential vulnerabilities of the human psyche.
Oh,
He
okay.
even drew parallels between the madness we experience in dreams and the thought processes that you see in some mental illnesses.
Wait, really? What kind of similarities did he see between dreams and, well, mental illness?
Well, for instance, in both dreams and certain mental states,
Yeah.
there can be this sort of this blurring of self-consciousness. The boundaries between self and other become less defined.
Yeah.
Perceptions become distorted, and thoughts can jump around in these seemingly illogical ways.
That's fascinating and a bit unsettling, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what our dreams might reveal about the inner workings of our minds, both in healthy and less healthy states.
It's certainly a lot to unpack,
Yeah.
and believe it or not, we've only just scratched the surface.
Wow.
Next, we'll delve into Freud's actual method of dream interpretation, his attempt to actually crack the code
Yeah.
of this symbolic language.
I'm ready to put on my detective hat. But before we move on, I'm curious to know what resonates most with you about Freud's ideas so far. What stands out as particularly groundbreaking or intriguing?
Well, it's fascinating to think about how these dreams, often seen as fleeting and kind of nonsensical, could actually hold such profound insights into our minds.
Absolutely. But how do we actually go about deciphering those dreams? I mean, did Freud have some kind of secret decoder ring for translating dream symbols?
Well, not exactly a decoder ring, but he did develop a systematic approach. He believed that the imagery and the emotions, the narratives that we experience in our dreams, act as symbolic representations of our unconscious thoughts and desires.
So it's not as simple as just taking the dream at face value. Like if I dream about missing a train, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm worried about being late for something in my waking life.
Precisely. Freud would argue that the missed train could symbolize something much deeper, perhaps a missed opportunity, or even a fear being left behind. And he believed that dream symbols are highly personal, and their meaning can vary widely depending on the individual's experiences, their cultural background, their current emotional state.
That makes sense. So there's no universal dream dictionary that we can consult. It's more like each person has their own unique dream language.
Exactly. And this is where Freud's method of free association comes in.
Okay.
He encouraged his patients to relax, let their minds kind of wander, and just talk about whatever thoughts or feelings or memories kind of arose in connection with their dreams.
Okay.
Freud believed that by following these seemingly random associations, the hidden meaning behind those dream symbols would eventually reveal itself.
So it's like a mental treasure hunt, kind of following the clues until you strike gold, you uncover that deeper meaning.
Exactly.
So did he have any specific techniques for guiding this process, or was it more about just letting the patient's mind lead the way?
Freud believed that even seemingly random or even nonsensical associations were valuable threads that led to the unconscious material that was driving the dream. And he saw the therapist's role as more of a facilitator, kind of guiding the patient's exploration, rather than imposing interpretations.
Okay.
Right? You don't want to force it.
That's a really nuanced approach. It seems like it requires a lot of A lot of trust and collaboration between the therapist and the patient.
Absolutely. It's a very delicate dance of listening, reflecting, and gently probing deeper.
Yeah.
And beyond free association, Freud also believed that dreams often employ a process called condensation.
Condensate. What does that mean in the context of dreams?
Well, think of it like a zip file.
Okay.
It compresses multiple files into a single smaller package.
Right.
In dreams, condensation involves combining multiple thoughts or feelings or even conflicting wishes into a single dream image or a symbol.
Oh, so it's like our dreams are trying to be efficient.
Yeah.
Packing a lot of meaning into a single powerful image.
Exactly. And this is why dream interpretation can be so complex. A seemingly simple image could represent a whole constellation of underlying thoughts and
Ooh,
feelings.
yeah.
It's like deciphering a code where one symbol can have multiple layers of meaning.
Right. So if I jumped about a cat, for example, what kind of hidden meanings could be lurking beneath the surface?
Well, that's where the process of free association would come into play.
Okay.
Maybe the cat represents your own pet,
Yeah.
or one that you encountered recently.
Right.
But it could also symbolize something more abstract,
Right.
like independence or grace or even hidden aggression.
Yeah.
It all depends on your personal associations and the overall context of the dream.
It sounds like dream interpretation requires a good dose of creativity and intuition.
Yes.
Not just a literal translation of symbols.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
speaking of translating symbols, Freud also emphasized the concept of displacement in dreams.
Displacement, is that like a defense mechanism where we kind of shift uncomfortable feelings onto something less threatening?
You're on the right track. In the context of dreams, displacement refers to shifting the emphasis or the emotional intensity from one element of the dream to another,
Okay.
often obscuring the true meaning. Because like a shell game, the dream kind of distracts us with something that seems unimportant, while the real issue is hidden somewhere else.
So the dream could be disguising a threatening or unacceptable wish
Right.
by shifting the focus to something less emotionally charged.
Precisely. And this is why dream interpretation requires a deep understanding of the dreamer's individual psychology.
Yeah.
It's not just about deciphering symbols, but it's about understanding the emotional landscape of the dream, noticing what feels emphasized, what feels hidden, what feels emotionally charged.
Wow. So there's a lot more to dream interpretation than I initially thought. It's not just about looking up symbols in a dream dictionary.
Right.
It's about understanding the personal significance of those symbols within the context of our own lives and experiences.
Exactly. And while this might all sound a bit complex, Freud believed that there were recurring themes that often appeared in dreams.
Okay.
Particularly relating to desires and impulses that are often repressed or considered unacceptable in waking life.
And this is where we get into the more controversial aspects of Freud's theories, right?
Yeah.
This idea that dreams often revolve around sexual or aggressive impulses that we might not even be aware of.
Yes, and understandably, this aspect of his work has been debated and critiqued over the years.
Yeah.
But Freud maintained that these impulses are a natural part of human nature.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're so often suppressed or denied in waking life,
Right.
they find expression in our dreams, though often in disguised forms.
So a dream about being chased, might not actually be about a literal threat, but rather a symbolic representation of some inner conflict or repressed desire.
It's certainly possible, but it's crucial to remember that dream symbols are highly personal and context dependent. What a snake symbolizes for one person might be entirely different for another.
Right. It sounds like interpreting dreams effectively requires us to be detectives, therapists, and poets all rolled into one. We have to, gather clues and understand those emotional nuances and be open to those creative interpretations.
That's a wonderful way to put it. Dream interpretation requires both analytical rigor and a a willingness to explore the rich tapestry of human experience with an open mind.
Freud certainly gave us a lot to think about, a whole new way of looking at dreams.
Yeah.
But before we move on to the practical side of actually applying these theories, is there anything else you find particularly compelling or perhaps even challenging about Freud's approach to dream interpretation?
It's mind-blowing to think that something as seemingly random as our dreams could hold such profound insights into our, deepest selves.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, dream interpretation can feel a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's like being handed this cryptic message without a key.
Yeah. Are there any practical tips or guidelines that we can use to start to make sense of our own dream world?
Absolutely. While there's no magic formula for decoding dreams, we can definitely draw some practical wisdom from Freud's work to help us navigate our own personal dream landscapes.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of practical tips are we talking about?
Well, first and foremost, pay close attention to the emotions that you experience in your dreams.
Okay.
Dreams are often a reflection of our emotional state, and those feelings can be really valuable clues to the underlying meaning of the dream.
So if I wake up from a dream and I'm feeling anxious or joyful, those feelings are worth exploring further. They're not just random side effects of the dream.
Right. Don't dismiss those feelings as insignificant. Ask yourself what in the dream triggered those specific emotions.
Yeah. Are there any connections you can draw to situations or relationships in your waking life that evoke similar feelings?
Okay, so it's about tuning into the emotional soundtrack of the dream,
Yeah.
not just the visual narrative.
Exactly.
So what other practical tips did Freud offer?
Well, another helpful strategy is to look for recurring themes or symbols or even characters in your dreams.
Okay.
These repeating elements often point to an unresolved issue or a recurring pattern in your life that your unconscious mind is trying to bring to your attention.
So like if I keep dreaming about being chased, maybe it's a sign that I'm feeling overwhelmed or threatened in some area of my life.
That's a great example.
Right.
Those recurring dreams can be like a persistent friend who's just nudging you to pay attention to something that you might be avoiding or denying in your waking life.
It's as though our subconscious is trying to send us a message, and sometimes it has to get really creative to break through.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And as you explore your dreams, remember to embrace your creativity and intuition.
Okay.
Dreams often speak in the language of metaphor and symbolism. So be open to exploring different possibilities and see what resonates with you.
So it's not about rigidly applying a set of rules, but rather about approaching our dreams with the sense of curiosity and a willingness to explore different perspectives. Almost like we need to become dream poets.
Yeah.
Finding those hidden metaphors and weaving together those threads of meaning.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And remember, context is everything.
Yes.
The same symbol can hold different meanings for different people and even for the same person at different points in their lives. So it's not just about looking up symbols in a dream dictionary. It's about understanding the personal significance of those symbols within the context of our own lives.
Exactly.
We are ultimately the best interpreters of our own dreams.
Exactly. Trust your intuition, explore your associations, and be open to the surprising insights that your dream world might reveal.
Yeah.
You hold the key to unlocking the secrets of your unsubconscious.
This has been such an eye-opening journey into the world of dreams.
Yeah.
We explored the history of dream interpretation, delved into Freud's groundbreaking ideas,
Right.
and learned some practical tips for making sense of our own dream experiences.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up this deep dive into Freud, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. If dreams truly offer this window into our unconscious minds, what might your dreams be trying to tell you?
That's a great question to ponder as we drift off to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Until next time, sweet dreams and happy decoding.